Oh, they may be playing football, and the crowd is yelling, kill the referee. But no matter what the score, when the clock strikes 4, everything stops for tea.
Welcome to episode 1 of Spill the Tea, the show for British expats, those thinking of becoming expats, and there could be a few of those.
Yeah, I think so.
And Anglophiles, anybody who likes to enjoy everything British. My name's Ian.
And my name is Sam, and what you can expect from this season are some interesting features, great interviews, celebrity guests coming on the show, and some performances. It's going to be really fun.
It really is. So what have we got coming up today?
What we've got coming up today is Dan Burke of British Taxi, which you just saw us. I mean, come on. We arrived in a British taxi today. I mean,
that was pretty cool. I mean, if you're going to start a show about the Brits,
it's really
you need
fabulous.
to turn up in a taxi,
so
right?
Yeah, we've got Dan Burke on the show today in studio, and you have a very interesting interview.
I will be talking to none other than a rock legend, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Joe Elliott of Def Leppard, the lead singer.
But I can guarantee you this is probably the most unique interview that Joe has ever done.
It's a little different, and he also actually gives us a bit of an exclusive.
Oh, that's right.
He does. There's a personal piece of information he's never shared with anybody, so that's going to be pretty exciting. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we like to try and get the scoop, or like we say, spill the tea.
Spill the tea. Spill the tea. So here we are. I mean, we are on this show. It's called Spill the Tea. I expect everybody's thinking, well, why didn't you call it Spill the Beans?
And we're going to explain why.
But yeah, I mean, bottom line is, Spill the Tea. Well, we're British for a start.
Well, of course. I mean, we can't do a coffee reference, really.
Not really, but, you know, it's kind of, I don't know, wherever you are in the world, here in the States, it's sort of become sort of a meme, kind of a term initially. It's kind of that sort of spill the truth.
Spill the truth.
Or the gossip, or whatever it might be.
Or give us the details, the information.
Yeah.
That's really what we're referencing it to, yeah.
But also there's another side of that, which is sip the tea, which is if you are actually coming into, if you're, like, absorbing gossip.
Have you been reading up on history?
No, I've just been talking to too many kind of young people who actually know this stuff.
That helps a lot.
It
but
does.
Tea's a good thing.
It is.
Tea's a good thing.
No, but spill the beans, if you really want a history lesson,
Go on.
goes back to ancient Greece.
Really?
It does, as a term.
Huh.
It's where they would have secret votes, and they would use different coloured beans to put into a jar to decide upon whatever that, decision would be. But sometimes either accidentally or intentionally, somebody would tip over the jar so that they would prematurely know the result of the vote. So it'd be like, no, don't spill the beans.
So it sounds like politics has been the same for centuries,
It basically has. And speaking of politics, I think the one thing about this show is that we're going to really be focusing on everything and anything. Except politics, primarily the B word.
Yeah, we're not going to use the B word because we want to be a bit of a respite from all of that craziness back home.
Exactly. So, I mean, it is one of those shows that we can't ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room on certain topics. And some of the features that we're going to be having are going to be relative to, pensions and insurance and health and
Things
immigration.
That are helpful when you're moving, say, to the States.
Right.
And we always get those questions. What's the driving test like?
Exactly.
I don't understand the insurance. I still don't understand the insurance yet at all.
So then there may be things that in context we'll talk about Brexit. But I said it.
You know what?
But generally
every time you
speaking,
say Brexit, you have to buy me a bar of Galaxy chocolate.
I'm going to say
I'm going to
lot,
have a good stash by Christmas. A really good stash.
No, I think we'll leave that there. We'll let it be because there's lots of other places that can be watched and listened to regarding that.
Yeah,
so
you don't need us for
this will
any
be
of that stuff.
a Brexit-free environment.
It will
just exhale.
That's 2 bars of Galaxy chocolate.
That wasn't even that. It was just a brr.
One and a half then.
All right,
okay,
a square.
1.5.
A square. So, Sam, you and I mean, we've been here.
Well, first of all, we've been friends for
a long time.
A really long time. And
we actually haven't figured that one out.
And we've worked together before, we've had some fun times before. And actually, a fun time that we had at Matt Goss's concert, what was it, about a month ago? Is when we really decided Spill the Tea was going to happen.
No, it wasn't Matt Goss. I was wondering where. I was thinking that wasn't
Matt Goss. It wasn't.
It was Robbie.
Robbie Williams.
Robbie Williams was just so that you know, in case you don't know where we're broadcasting from. We're here in Las Vegas, Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world, and we're coming to you from Show Creators Studios, which is kind of a fun little place that we put this sort of little place together.
2 minutes away from the Las Vegas Strip.
So, of course, we do get a lot of entertainers and interesting people that come to town, and Robbie Williams was over there.
Not Matt Goss, but I've seen Matt Goss, and he's fabulous.
He was over there at the Wynn, right?
He was at the Wynn.
And we went and had a little sort of Brit night.
We did.
And we've been talking about this show for a couple of years.
We have. And finally, it's here. But it was about a month ago, wasn't it? And then we just said, let's
do it.
After having a concert and some drinks, let's do it.
Anything that involves drinks usually involves ideas, and hopefully some of them are good, some of them not so good.
Then you wake up the next morning and go, why did I say yes to that?
I know.
But yeah, it's been an exciting month putting everything together. We've still got some bits and pieces falling into place.
Right.
But I think we've got a great show lined up for everybody today.
I think we do. Now, I would like to learn more about what I know about you.
There's some things I cannot reveal.
Well, that's not tea in that teapot, is it? We might end up actually getting
it's truth serum.
Exactly. No, so I mean, maybe we should just say a little bit about where.
Yeah, because I think it's always an interesting story how British people end up in any country around the world. Stories are really interesting. So I would say, for me, how it started was I worked on cruise ships. I was actually living in Spain at the time. My mom still lives there, and I applied to work on the cruise ships, and I worked for an illusionist called Bruce Block.
Oh.
I know all the Houdini stuff, but I was very fortunate to be on that cruise ship because that's how I met my husband.
Oh.
He was in the orchestra, and then we decided we were going to be together, we're going to get married. So we were a little bit of time in Pittsburgh. Then I wasn't a fan of living in Pittsburgh. It wasn't my thing, and I just said, I actually said one morning, what are we doing here? That's what I said. I said, choose wherever you want to go. Do we want to go back to England? Do you want to choose another country, somewhere here in the States? And at that time, Nashville was really hot for music. It still is. I mean, it's bigger than ever. So that's what we did. We moved to Nashville cold turkey. Everybody was freaked out in Jim's family. I can't believe you did that without a plan. But it was kind of a plan. And we ended up in Nashville for almost 5 years. And then we came to Vegas for a 5-day anniversary trip. And I said, I think I'm going to move to Vegas. But I'd lived in lots of different countries anyway.
And he agreed? Oh, well, you were just saying, I'm going to move to Vegas.
I'm moving and you're coming with me.
He wasn't trying to, trying to give him a hint.
See you, bye.
Yeah.
For me, I don't mind doing things spur of the minute. I just really don't mind that. I'm not scared or fearful because I've lived in so many different countries, like you have. A lot of touring and traveling, that kind of thing. And we moved here, and we've been here 20 years, something like that. It's a really long time.
So when did you move to Las Vegas?
It was before the millennium.
Well, if you say 20, so because I've been here nearly 20 years as well, so I didn't.
In Vegas, 20.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not one that keeps track of time, really.
So this show could be going on a long
It could be for 3 hours.
Time.
So that's basically my story. And then, I've done anything from radio, TV. I mean, it's an exciting town. There's lots of opportunities. So that's how I
But a Sheffield lass through and through.
A Sheffield lass through and through. That's right.
Of which our guest later on, Joe Elliott, is also from Sheffield as well. I
wouldn't be surprised if we had some mutual friends because at the time that he was there and their band was getting together, we had Human League, Heaven 17, Joe Cocker's from my hometown. It's a big music town. There's a lot happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some of the same friends. I would not be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Conversely, though, I don't think any. Well, no, actually, he does have some common friends with me, actually.
Yes, and we're going to bring.
But not geographically. I wouldn't have thought. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe. Yeah. So
what's your story?
My backstory then. I was born in Epsom, Surrey, the home of the Derby.
Of the what?
I was about to say Derby, because that's a whole other topic. No, wait, hold on, because here's the thing: when you live in a country, and if you live around the world, you may find this too, is that you sort of pick up little kind of accent traits and certain words that you say differently you don't want to say differently.
Yes,
but
and
you do,
it's not
I was about to say Derby, like the Epsom Derby, but I won't say Derby.
Yes.
Because that's how it's said over here. And
I know. And you don't want to, but somehow it just seeps in sometimes.
It does. So I apologise in advance if anything sounds a little bit less than British. But anyway, Epsom.
Yeah, so you started in Epsom.
Right next to the racecourse, like a stone's throw from the racecourse. If I'd have been any shorter, I could have been a jockey. And it would have been a great backstory. But no, I'm not. I'm here in Las Vegas. Then grew up around London Borough of Sutton kind of area. And got into performing. So as a dancer as well, weirdly, that's how my career started in this industry. And like most of us, took a very diverse and weird and unexpected many turns.
Yes.
Because we don't just do one thing.
Were they fouette turns?
Yeah, yes, pirouettes. You know, I mean, when you're in this industry, you have to do everything. And so we did.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, the path has been incredibly diverse. We got to travel all around the world with different kind of performances and shows and acts that we've developed. And I say I'm talking about Amanda, who's my business partner.
Yes, and you'll get to meet Amanda because she'll be on the show as well.
Yeah, she will be on the show. She'll be omnipresent around here. We've worked together for over 30 years. Since we were 2.
I know. You were very talented toddler.
Yeah, talented toddlers. Anyway, that resulted in us working over here in the United States and bouncing backwards and forwards for a while, and eventually just saying, you know, bite the bullet and give it a year. We said we'd give it a year.
Oh, so you gave it a year. Where were you initially then when you said give it a year? Which city were you in?
In Orlando, Florida. Okay. We were working for the Mouse.
That's right. You know which mouse we're talking about. That mouse.
That mouse.
You're working for that mouse.
A little bit. But, they, you know, Disney was very good to us. You know, it was awesome.
Well, and who gets to really say, from another country, I worked for Disney?
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, you know.
I think we forget some of our achievements because you're just moving on to the next thing. What do we do now? What's the next gig? What's the next contract?
Right.
Sometimes you just don't sit and reflect on, we work for Disney and I'm from Sutton.
Exactly. But, I mean, that's really, you know, I've been here nearly 20 years. Well, I was in Orlando for about 4 years.
Yeah.
And then moved from there to here, from the sublime to the ridiculous. Orlando to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that's true.
It's wonderful. And this is where we are. So,
and I think it's interesting. Like I say, you just don't know people's stories, or if they started off with one plan and then it changed along the way, because that happens a lot.
Well, it does, you know, and I think whether you come over here for work or relationships or lack of relationships, whatever your reasons are.
Yeah, or you meet someone, you know, you come on holiday, you meet someone, and next thing you know, you're trying to get that, is it the K1 visa? Is that what the fiancé visa? Is that the one?
I can't remember, actually. I don't think I actually had to apply for one of those. Probably one of the few I didn't have to apply for. But and I'm sure everybody out there has probably got some interesting stories regarding their path here, their experiences. So while I remember it, just please make sure you try to interact with us on the comments below there.
Tell us your story.
We are going to be on multiple platforms. Today we are on Facebook Live. Eventually, all the platforms will be occupied relative to the audio component, the podcast side of this. But we do actually have to use a show to submit to get on these platforms.
That's right. You have to exist.
This is the show that we will be submitting.
That's right. And then the show will be on replay, so it'll be easy to come back and watch the show. And I know for a fact we've got people watching from back home. So it's about 6 o'clock at night, 6:15, and we've got family and friends watching in. And I think it's great.
We do. It'll be fun. And please do share, do like, do let everybody know that this exists, because we really want to build kind of an audience, more than an audience, a community. We really want to get people involved in what we're doing here. There's really not that much representation for us that aren't there anymore. And so, you know, we just kind of want to, you know, turn this into something fun.
Yes, absolutely. And if you've got interesting stories, if you know someone who's really interesting or got a unique business, let us know, and contact us through the website, because we'll take a look, because we're going to bring some really good guests on, aren't we?
Exactly.
Some we have to keep secret about, but
actually some of the guests that we are going to be bringing on are going to be amazing. I mean, we've got if you're going to start a show, start it with a rock god. Right. And I'm talking about Dan Burke, obviously.
Of course you are.
But apart from that, but beyond that, you know, you mentioned the website, so we get to mention the website, which I'm sure will appear somewhere around here any second. It's spillthetealive.com. Spillthetealive.com. Did I say that? Maybe I said that at the beginning. Did I say that already?
I think we said that in rehearsal.
Oh, well, maybe. Well, I'm saying it now. It's there for you to see. It's an evolving site. It's going to be a place where I was thinking of even putting like a little kind of community board. So if you've got like an online business or something, it's difficult if it's a physical business, but maybe you've got an online business. Maybe we can do like little, you know, community board, and we'll put like a
Yes.
little graphic up on.
That's one thing I do know. I think about any community, no matter what country you're from, if you're living in another country, you do have your community. You do reach out to your community and say, anyone got a recommendation for a great dentist? Anyone got a great recommendation for? And they do like to work with other Brits. They just do.
They do. Which might be awkward if you're in Sydney, Australia, and say, I've got a great guy down here.
Yes.
But that's still okay. You know, especially if it's online. You know, it's going to be more global reach rather than local.
Yeah. Despite the fact that we're in Vegas, I mean, eventually everybody shows up to Vegas anyway. But despite the fact that we're in Vegas, this is going to be global.
It is
for anyone that's interested.
And if you do end up in Las Vegas on vacation, or just because your sins brought you here for whatever reason, do let us know, because you know when we'll be recording shows, you know, in the future, by all means come in and sit and watch the show. We have a few people back there.
We have a little audience today. We didn't push it too much because we had a lot going on.
Right, there's like only about 4,000 today. So we're
and one of them brought a bag of Maltesers.
I know. It's that may actually have to be hacked into shortly.
I almost offered them to Travis.
Travis is our engineer sitting behind there pushing the buttons.
But then I said, I don't know if you fully appreciate it because he's not British.
No, he won't. He won't get it.
It's a terrible thing to say that, but that's how we are with our chocolate. In fact, let's just do the quick chocolate poll.
Oh, we did a chocolate poll on the Facebook page.
It only gave us two options, which was Dairy Milk and Galaxy.
Yeah.
And Dairy Milk won.
Did it?
I'm a Galaxy.
By far?
I'm a Galaxy fan. Yeah. What do you like?
I'm Dairy Milk.
You're Dairy Milk too.
Yeah.
I mean, we could have done with some on here, or some biscuits or something, couldn't we?
Look, this show's already going to be about 3 hours. If we
We're
actually
going to
have
tea.
supplies, it's going to end up being we can camp out.
Well, I think we should probably move on, don't you?
Well, we could. We should.
What are we going to do next? What are we going to do next?
Well, do you think it's Dan the Taxi Man time?
It is. It's time for What Are You Like?
Yes, we're going to call this section What You Like, which is really going to be where we focus in on different individuals who are expats and find out what their backstory is.
So we're going to find out what Dan is all about. What is he like?
And at the top of the show, you saw that we appeared from this. I mean, again, we got a taxi in the studio. This is crazy.
And it is. But the reason I said the whole Matt Goss thing is because Matt Goss's face is on this taxi. It was just.
He was looking at you. He was winking at you.
I'm going over to kiss his face right now. And Dan.
And Dan. Right.
And Dan.
All right.
So let's wiggle over this way.
Okay. Right. I'll be with you.
Coming over to Dan. Good morning, Dan. I think we need to. My lipstick does not come off. So, show everyone your T-shirt. Which way should we go? There we go. Show everyone your T-shirt. Chaz and Dave.
Chaz and Dave, old London heroes of mine.
Oh, it's just fantastic. You forget about certain things, don't you, when you move away from home? But this is absolutely brilliant. So let's talk about the taxi. Let me step out slightly so you can see a little bit more about the taxi. First of all, how old is this taxi?
So this is a 1981 London taxi, original London taxi, actually was running in the streets of London before it came to America.
That's amazing. I can't imagine how expensive it is. Did you actually import this, or was it already here?
This one was already here. In fact, many of the cars in our fleet are already here.
Good.
What we tend to do is spruce them up, put them back on the road and let them run as they did back in London.
Oh, it's just, I mean, to step in the taxi first thing this morning, I haven't done that in such a long time. It was just wonderful. So let's take a little, well, actually, let's go over to Matt Goss. Okay. Why is Matt on your vehicle?
So obviously Matt and his brother were a big part of Bros. They still are, in fact.
Massive.
Bros are still touring. They're still doing fantastic.
The Brossettes are still stronger than ever, the fans.
Still stronger than ever. And Matt, of course, has a show at the Mirage, and we're helping a little bit on the promotional side with Matt. And just great to be working with some British heroes.
I mean, it's just, look how pretty he is. Oh, he's so lovely. So let's go in. I'm left-handed, so this is kind of awkward for me.
Yep, sure
right,
thing.
Ian, do you want to show them inside? So, as I say, to step in was just, it's just so fantastic.
It might be a little dark on there. If you want to tap.
Can we see a little bit, maybe?
There you go. And actually, that's where David Beckham sat in this very same taxi. We actually took this taxi to New York City for a big promotion. And David sat on the seat that you were sitting on.
I was going to ask, is my bum on where his bum was?
You're that
closer.
That much closer.
So I just love the fact that, one, it's so unusual. I can't even imagine what it's like when people see you in this taxi, and you've got your celebrities in them. It's got to be so exciting.
Yeah, well, it's really fun because obviously the steering wheel's on the other side of the car. So that throws people off from the beginning, which is always really fun. And then they're designed very differently. They're designed like carriages. So I don't know if you had a chance to see, but over here there's seats where you're allowed to actually face each other here. So
Yes.
in terms of the carriage experience, you can actually sit and face each other, which makes the ride so much more exciting.
It does. I mean, I remember we'd put our feet on those and then get told off for putting our feet on those
Oh,
seats.
that's fine.
But I was coming out the nightclubs, though.
Yeah, that's important. That's all part of it, isn't it? You know, finding your comfortable spot.
It is.
Yeah.
I just think they're so unusual. Well, I think what we should do is come over to the table. Let's have a cup of tea because we're all parched. And we'll talk a lot more about not just this business, but your history, which is quite interesting, and your other business and how it all ties together. So come on over to the table, and you're going to wiggle in first.
All right, let's put the kettle on.
And we're going to do a cup of tea. There we go. Fantastic. See, we put Dan in the middle, so we both get to enjoy Dan.
This is fabulous. You've done such a great job with this set. It's like being at home.
It's fun, isn't it? I mean, and tea. What does tea mean to you, Dan?
Well, it's very comforting.
I'm back.
It's the first thing.
I wasn't the cameraman.
You were not the cameraman. It is. It's comforting, but we use tea for everything, don't we? I mean, we use tea to celebrate. Something horrible happened. Let's have a cup of tea because that's going to help you tremendously.
Might need one of those.
That might be
There
helpful.
you go.
Tea and microphones.
That's an interesting colour tea, I have to say.
I will work with that.
There you go, Dan.
Thank you very much.
Good Lord.
Yeah, tea is used for everything in England. So whether it's a celebration, whether something bad happened, or you just want to relax, or you don't feel well, have a cup of tea, and it makes all things better. It's a strange coloured tea, don't you think, Dan?
I think we'll make it work.
It's a
though.
bit strange colour, this tea.
Well, putting the kettle on is also.
Oh dear, you don't need that much cream, I tell you that much.
Okay, I'll just put a little dribble in.
Yeah, it's a bit. And of course, how fancy are we with our sugar cubes? Do you want sugar?
I'm good as I am. Thank you
So
very
British
much.
Taxi, what's your story? How did you end up here?
Yeah, quite a bizarre scenario, really. So.
Don't I get any?
Yeah, your teacups there.
Oh, I didn't even see.
I would have poured you one, but I didn't want to reach across like
I
that.
think Sammy's
You can
mother.
be mother.
So, British Taxi is a fascinating story. So, by trade, I've actually been a communicator. I've been working in media for all my career. In fact, I've got a video company as well. And so, what I learned to do as a youngster was I was able to. I was a journalist, so I was always communicating through words.
Yeah, storyteller.
Storytelling, yeah, being able to tell a great story. And so for my very first TV commercial in the States, when I started my company here, it was for a British pub. And they had a rusty old London taxi
Oh, I see.
that they wanted to put in the ad. And they didn't tell me about this. They kind of threw it on me last second and said, hey, here's this
Rusty old taxi.
Oh, and it doesn't run.
Oh, that's even
luck.
better.
I'm like, what are we going to do?
How are we going to make it work?
So I had a bunch of, we've got to put this up a little bit. Is that better? Is that better? Okay, sorry about that.
It's live. Don't you love that?
Yeah, I love it. So we had a TV commercial to make, and we had a bunch of rugby players in the pub,
Right.
playing their part as extras, which they loved. And because this car wouldn't start, they had to push it. And so we made this TV commercial with a car that looked like it was running, but it wasn't. Lo and behold, I ended up buying that thing after a few pints. They convinced me to buy this old rusty London taxi, and that was the birth of British Taxi.
That was it.
Yeah, it wasn't something I'd planned, and it wasn't. The company I have today wasn't the company I started back then. We've had a few different
iterations.
So
of
that
it,
actually
yeah.
speaks to what we were saying earlier about your initial reason for coming here was not really what you ended up doing.
Correct.
So what was the germ, the idea that you thought I'm out of here? Don't know where exactly. Did you ask that? Where exactly are you from?
Where are you from?
Thanks for asking.
What are you
I thought you'd
like?
never ask. I was born in London.
Yeah.
In Greenwich, but I was early, and I was.
Hey.
Thank you, Bon. And I moved to Essex when I was very young, so I spent most of my time in Essex up to the age of 25.
Which part of Essex?
Canvey Island.
Canby. See, you just didn't want to say Canby, did you? Just why you said
Well,
Essex.
if you want to really go down, I can even give you my address and postcode. If you want.
I've been to Canby.
Oh, you have?
I have had the pleasure.
Okay. How did that happen?
I was just people I knew at the time, and just kind of they lived there, and go visit. That's what you do.
So we were ships in the night passing by.
We could have been. We could have passed down by the chip shop there.
Chip shop.
Oh, don't! I could fancy a chip.
I know. Oh, yeah.
That's a whole other show.
It is. We've got to do a whole food show.
We're going to be doing food shows.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
have to do a food show.
Yeah.
So back to Essex.
Okay.
So you were there till what, 25? Did you say?
Yeah.
But then what was the when you like I'm buggering off to the States?
Okay, so you can blame my wife for that. I'm a souvenir from a trip to the UK.
Oh, so it happened the other way around.
Oh,
So
wow.
she went
She
and met
studied
you.
abroad, found me, took me back, and her family's from North Carolina, so we spent the first years of being in America in North Carolina.
Did she find you in Canby?
No, it was in university, North London.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
And then from there, I started this company in North Carolina, and actually British Taxi was a really exciting limo-style company. And again, it was something that was just born out of creative ideas and thoughts and fun. We started by running friends around. I used to put a little cap on and a tie and just drive about for fun, pretend to play the cabbie, and then that caught on really quickly. And so the idea of being a limo company was very, very popular. So I purchased more vehicles. I found some older, more classic cars, different styles of vehicle. And in the end, actually, car number 3 was the longest London taxi in the world. It still is.
How long is that?
It's not, you've probably got imagination. It's a huge car. It's not giant. It seats 8. But that's obviously twice as many as the current vehicle.
But it's a stretch.
It's a stretch.
A stretch
taxi. Now, is there much of a British community in, would you say, South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah, there's a handful of people there. I feel like there's a stronger community here.
Yeah.
I feel like people have migrated this way more so than in Wilmington, North Carolina. But Wilmington's a really wonderful community.
Nice.
It's a smaller town. There's nearly 200,000 people there. Very artistic area, wonderful place to live. But for me, I wanted to try something new. I knew I was onto something exciting with the cars. And I thought, well, let's get to a bigger town, a bigger city, and let them loose and see what happens.
And you've been here a couple of years now, haven't you?
Yeah, just over a year, actually. But I've been kind of, looking around, wondering what would be the next move. Because like I said, these cars are very unique, and you can't just sort of run them willy-nilly. You have to place them correctly because they're old. And they need to be nurtured.
Yeah.
And
How do they do with the heat?
They do well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How do you repair them?
Well,
Do you have a specialised mechanic for this? Or do you repair them?
There are mechanics that will look at these cars and say, wow, I haven't seen a car like this in ages. I can't wait to get stuck in. And there are mechanics that say, you can move right along, please.
Right.
Well, because I a few years ago, I wanted to buy a Triumph TR6. Because, why not? I didn't end up getting one. I didn't end up actually getting a Fiat Spider. But apart from that, I was really hooked into it. But the reason I didn't, or one of the reasons I didn't, is that I was looking at this one car, and the guy said, yeah, well, it gets a bit temperamental in the heat out here because the carburetor was positioned over the engine block, and it's in the UK, it's great because it kind of warms everything and gets it going. But over here, because it's as hotter than the sun over here,
warm, yeah.
it overheats the cars a lot. So I just didn't know whether it's the kind of issues that you have on an ongoing.
A lot of it's strategy. So, like I said, when you find the right market and the right way to use the vehicles, most people think of these cars as rides from A to B. I have never thought of them like that. They've always been more of an experiential production. So that's how I've been able to work with. Actually, capture, it sounds like sounds a little bit daring, doesn't it? Oh, you
like that, yeah.
Okay. That's how I've been able to work closely with some of the biggest brands in the UK. And
good, we're moving on because otherwise it's starting to sound like Top Gear.
I do love Top Gear, though. I tell you, that's a great show.
Or the Grand Tour, as they call it. But yes, yes. I was just for a moment there. I was thinking we're going to drill down on the cars even more here, and we're going to end up just becoming a car show.
But you've worked with some big companies. We're talking British Airways. Who else have you worked with?
Ben Sherman, Ted Baker, Marvel Studios.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
We've done Charlotte Tilbury.
Love her, mate.
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. We've also done some jobs for the British government. Can't talk about that.
We know nothing about that.
Mr. Bond.
It's so exciting. At what point did you realise you'd got the first taxi? But at what point did you realise, oh, I'm really onto something here? This can be really big, and it is a niche business. And it's funny because it used to be people would say, yeah, but in your business you don't offer this, and this, and this. But now we all know that you have to niche down to find your people that want your specialised service or product. You know, so what was that moment when you just said, oh, this is going to be amazing?
Yeah, well, there was a moment. Well, first of all, you know, the local market told me in Wilmington, North Carolina, there was a need for this type of service because people were just ringing me up all the time trying to use the vehicles for weddings. I thought, okay, this is fun.
Yeah.
But the real game-changing moment happened when NBC called me up in 2013 because the Premier League was being launched in America for the very first time. And they needed to make a giant splash with that. So they asked me to bring as many cars as I could find to New York City. And I thought, well, that seems like a strange thing to say because I'm in North Carolina and surely they'll be using cars in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked them that. They said, well, we can't find any. And so then a light bulb goes off and you realize, well, okay, maybe I am representing the British taxis here in the USA and let's own that space. So I started buying more cars. And that was an incredible project. We ran the cars around New York City for 2 weeks. And I thought, well, this is the way to make money because honestly, it was actually easier to do that. The cars were amazing. I'm working with brands that I adore. And I thought, well, I wonder how many other brands are out there that need an experience like this.
The experience.
Right.
And I think that's how most companies are going now, even if it's a product, but products and services, it really is about experiences. People don't mind spending the money because they get this out of it. You know, it's not even a material thing anymore. It's just like, oh my gosh, we were in this taxi, the longest one that's available, and it just makes it so special. And I think with your storytelling background, you help their story, whether it's a wedding or, like you say, you know, launching, you know, a big product or whatever. But I think the storytelling has a big part to do with that, and that's what you do with Video Tailors too, your other business.
That's right.
It all makes sense. It's all kind of holistic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite interesting the way it's all come around like that. But obviously, ultimately, when a company's renting my vehicles for a big promotion, they want to be seen. So they're either being seen on the street. So at a street level, we're actually gold medalists in that campaign idea. We're being seen. People cannot stop staring at the cars, and they want to get inside them. So up against like a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, our cars just, you know, take the bacon when it comes to.
And I love the one picture of the flower wall inside the taxi. I thought that was amazing. I mean, really gorgeous, and it's that Instagram worthy moment, isn't it? You know.
And they're just very rare cars, and they weren't very well looked after in the UK. And so now they're here, they're like time capsules, and they've been kept really well, and it's my job to take care of them, and so other generations can enjoy them. So I feel as if it's more of a job, it's less of a job. Yeah, curator, a keeper of these vehicles so that others can enjoy them.
Yes.
So it comes with a lot of responsibility, and you can't just, like I said, place them into a market and say good luck, because you've just got to run them right, and I'm thinking about generations ahead of my own.
Oh, well, your kids will end up doing the business, won't they?
Well, we'll soon see about that. Yeah, they do like the cars, that's for sure.
Well, those would be great cars for them to drive to school when they start.
I know,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
They'll definitely get the attention if they
How
want
many
that.
are in the fleet right now?
So right now we have a dozen of them.
Gosh.
Yeah, we have, and they're all.
pretty awesome.
I like to think of them as like the Godfather fleet.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because we've got some very rare specimens. We've got one that's only 250 ever made. We've got one that's probably 750 ever made, and that one's one of the finest examples of that London taxi in the world today. Of course, we've got the Stretch London taxi, which is the longest in the world. That's an incredible vehicle right now. That's over at Featherlight Coaches in Virginia. And the other cars we have on the East Coast, we've got 7 or 8 of them that match. So we can do branding campaigns and everything looks nice and neat.
The branding is great because you know this from your business as well, Ian, how you brand one of your businesses for the companies you're working with. It just makes it extra special. I mean, there are ways of doing it that it doesn't ruin the vehicle, and you know.
Exactly.
Because I think that's what people think is, what, did they just repaint the whole thing? No, it's clever. The technology is good now. It's available.
Do you find being a business owner, whether it's with the taxis or with your video production company, do you find being British helps or maybe even hinders you in business over here in the States, at least? I mean, whether it's meetings, I mean, what sort of reception do you get? Is it the same as anybody else, or is it different?
Lovely cup of tea, by the way.
Is it all right?
Cheers. Yeah, appreciate that.
I'm a little bit
It's all right,
concerned.
actually, yeah.
No, it's nice. Just having a cup of tea is brilliant.
It is.
To answer your question, I found it to be an advantage for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, people tend to remember you.
Yes.
And you've got to do a really good job of remembering them.
That's right.
Because they remember the accent and put
They
it together
do.
quite quickly, and then you've got to think of something, and hopefully, you know, typically I'm pretty good with that. But to answer your question, it is helpful being British, I think. Obviously, you've got to be able to back it up with product service and being a good human being.
Yeah.
No, I find just the accent gets you in, and then you don't have to do anything.
I need to learn from you.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, or they just think you're more intelligent than you actually are.
Totally. Oh yeah, I've had that always. Say, oh, he's, look at him with the accent and the voice. It's like, yeah, you've no clue. Really.
I think just the remembering part is just a bonus. It just is. People remember who we are.
Right.
So that's why you have to be a good person, like you said, Dan, because they'll remember if you're not.
No, you've got to be an ambassador, right? When you come abroad and you're in somebody else's country, you're in somebody else's home, I still feel very humble to be here.
Yeah.
And I want to be the best representation I can of the British.
Well, particularly with a British type product, it is a big responsibility.
Yes.
Well, even the Brits will look at you and go, is he doing it right?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of scrutiny
He's
involved.
got all these taxis and, is he doing it the right
Question
way?
is, do you have the knowledge?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know what the knowledge is one of the biggest road tests, actually the biggest road test for any taxi driver in the world. And I personally haven't gone through that, but it can take years for a real taxi driver to go through that process to be able to drive in London. And I think that's another reason why these cars are so revered.
Yes.
And they are the original black car service. I'm not sure if people really connect those two together.
Huh.
So, the black cabs are famous and actually started many of the regulations and rules that we now know today to make sure that safety is always paramount.
But in a day of Uber and Lyft and all these other types of companies, do you feel that imagery, that iconic status of the London taxi is going to, heaven forbid, diminish and potentially disappear, or do you think it's still going to survive?
Yeah, fortunately, we've never competed in that market. Our model's always been priced higher, quite frankly, because we have a vintage product that is revered and very unique. So we've never been in the same ballpark. But
what about in London, though?
In London, it's exactly okay. So back in the UK, they're in a very unique situation, and it's very difficult because the fact is, the system of transporting people around has moved along, and a lot of the taxi companies around the world have not. Now the UK taxis, the black taxis in England, they're working very, very hard to stay on the forefront of technology, of customer service, and they have apps that are similar to those companies you mentioned. I don't like to speak those names.
Yes, that's okay.
No, but it makes sense. It's technology.
Did.
No, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. And I'm kind of making a joke of it. I've got a lot of London taxi friends, and they don't like to talk about it too much. But I don't blame them. It's
so we're avoiding the B word, the U word, the L word.
L word. Yes, we are.
Yeah, we'll make a list.
We should.
But it's so different, though, isn't it? It's nothing. You can't even compare it.
No.
And they're kind of a sea of sameness.
Yeah,
that's all the same. It's just really about, like you say, A to B for them.
Yes.
But it's not for you. It's a completely different experience.
Yeah, and obviously in London they're part of the landscape, and I think if they were to be taken off the road, it'd be a terribly sad day.
It honestly would be to not see them anymore. And like you say, the knowledge of a black taxi driver is amazing. And the history that they can explain to you as you're driving along. I mean, they know their streets.
They truly do.
And their landmarks, and that is the experience as well.
Yeah.
Now, your East Coast and West Coast, which is great, because I don't want anyone to think, oh, it's only West Coast because he's here, but your East Coast and West Coast, how do you transport all these vehicles when, like you say, you've got to get a vehicle over to New York? How does that work?
Yeah, so we have a base in North Carolina, where we have a team of people that can get cars ready, get them wrapped, get them prepared for events, and send them up and down the coast. And that's something that we want to be able to do here as well.
I just love it. I just love the whole idea. But I met Dan at a networking event. I never go to networking events.
I hate networking events.
I don't like them at all. And I went.
And I think it's a British thing because I don't like to go and see. And again, I said British with a D.
Yeah, where's the T?
British.
Where's the T?
British.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, but I did go because it was a friend of mine who.
I don't like talking about myself.
You don't?
No. I mean, I'm not.
You did a good job today.
Well, thanks. But if somebody comes to me and says, can you do this? Or, what can we do? Or got some ideas. Oh, I love that. But if you have to go into an environment with other people and just be like, hi, I'm Ian. I do this. You need to hire me because
it's a bit
I'm
weird.
in the wrong industry not to be. I know that.
I went because a friend of mine, you probably know her, Monica Jackson.
Yes.
Newscaster. She started this networking event, and that's how I met Dan. That's how I met Craig as well. Yeah. But
Craig's going to be on the show next week, right?
Craig's going to be on the show next week. Now, Craig, I didn't know. He was sat with my friend Lynn. And I said to my friend, "Oh no, don't sit with the Brits. They're trouble. They're big trouble." And we became friends ever since. I mean,
nice.
it was literally that quick. And then I met Dan
and Craig. Just so since we're on that topic, he's going to be talking about.
He's going to talk about UK pensions when you're here in the States.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think they can use their pension, or they've forgotten they've got pensions.
And there's new rules. There's all sorts of stuff to consider.
So Craig's going to come on and help a ton of people with that kind of information, which I think is really
so
valuable.
if you've got specific questions relative to that, or just want to join us on the day and chime in and write some comments, we're not exactly geared up to be able to sort of look at everybo's comments right now, but it's
we'll check them after the show.
We will check them after the show for sure. So please carry on doing them if you are, Mum.
He only told her this morning he was doing a show.
No, she knew there was a show. She just called me 10 minutes before we went on air and was like, "Hello, darling."
He goes, "Hello, Mum."
I'm like, "Yeah, I can't talk right now," but hopefully she's actually watching right now.
Well, I just love that we're talking about things that are so iconic to Britain, and tea, and my little outfit today was kind of a little ode to
lovely
Downton Abbey. Thank you. Which it's everywhere.
The D word.
It's everywhere. You've got a little story about Downton Abbey and the taxi, haven't you?
Yes.
And I'm just loving this. It's so great. Tell us.
You want about that? Okay.
Yeah, tell us.
Well, because it's the premiere, isn't it?
It is on Friday, and I've just rewatched the whole series again from the very beginning, and I could watch it again and again and again.
Who was the before you get to your story? Who was the Crawley, the guy who died in the car? What was his character's name?
Mary's husband. Why am I blanking out? Blonde.
Somebody
Someone tell
us.
me.
But I was just thinking with this movie and potentially it becoming a franchise now of Downton movies, he's dead. So he's probably like, unless of course you haven't watched Downton.
It can always come back in the shower. It can always come back in the shower like Thingy Duffy. What's his name from?
And I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe they brought him back.
Some characters
like
are
Yoda.
not. Well, some are not coming back at all.
Alec
Even
Guinness
though they
and
are
Star
alive,
Wars.
some are just not coming back because it doesn't make sense in the storyline.
But it's a shame that he was a main character and then he probably thought, well, I've had a few good seasons.
I think that's the great thing about Downton Abbey. It's not all sunshine and roses and rainbows. It's very real and tragic, some of the stories.
Real in an entirely fabricated kind of way.
Well, it actually isn't, strangely enough. Lady Carvenan, I can't remember her last name. She owns Downton Abbey with her husband.
Okay.
And it was her friends who wrote Downton Abbey.
Oh, it was?
So a lot of it is tied into the real history of the house itself. Yeah, a little obsessed here. I hope I'm getting it all right.
Does it get released in everywhere else the same time as it gets released in the UK?
London, it was released last night. Was the premiere. They did the whole red carpet thing, which was rather fabulous. And it's nice to see them outside of their characters, which was really good. But let's go back to Dan.
Sorry,
because Dan's right here.
No,
Tell us your Downton.
You're a co-host right
his stories
now.
are way more interesting than ours.
So it's not my favourite story, but I'll share it because since this is spill the tea, let's spill a little bit. I was going to take care of Michelle Dockery for a short ride in Wilmington, North Carolina.
That's Lady Mary, if you don't know, and I love her character.
She's fantastic, and some friends of mine, good friends of mine, back in Wilmington. They were one of the girls was her double on the show, and
Scoop, we're getting a scoop.
they wanted
Stunt double.
They thought it'd be lovely to have a cup of tea and and do a ride and organise all that. So I said, wonderful, let's do that. So it was just around the time when I was doing a ton of yard work in my house, and I somehow managed to get poison ivy over my face.
Like you do.
What
do you like, Dan?
I know. And so, day of the ride, I'm supposed to be going to see Lady Dockers. And I look like Rocky 4, round 12. And I'm like, I can't, there's no way in the world I can do this. And so I had to reschedule that ride, and unfortunately she couldn't do that.
Oh my
gosh. It was one of those horrible moments where I'm wondering, can I do this ride looking like Rocky Balboa?
You should.
After doing 12 rounds.
Why not? It would have given her a story.
It probably would have done. It probably would have done.
Yeah.
But it all just felt. It just all felt wrong.
Didn't feel right.
It just didn't.
And you felt like you were representing the way you would normally.
You should have seen me. Then you might have said something separate. I don't know.
Poor thing, but what a great story in that connection.
It's kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
So if you were one of the Downton Abbey characters, who would you be?
Oh gosh, now you put me on the spot. I don't know.
I love Lady Mary, but what I don't like is that she's not nice to her sister. And I fought sisters, and I love my sisters. So I don't understand that. It's a real fight between the two of them. But I do. I love all the clothing. I'm all about that. What would you be?
I'd be Mrs. Patmore.
She softens up as the series goes along a little bit.
She does. Or what was her? Is it Daisy?
Oh, I love Daisy too.
But you know, I actually read that neither of them are very good cooks at all. Like in the kitchen, they can play it on TV.
They can pretend,
but then actually not very good in the kitchen.
Yeah,
I think that's what they call acting.
It's weird, isn't it?
I know.
What a skill.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you watch the entire series, you notice a big change in how it's filmed, and the quality of it comes season 3. So I think that's probably when it all blew up.
It took me a few episodes to get into it though, because I was thinking everybody's freaking out about it. You know, and I was like, this is kind of. It felt awkward the first 3 or 4 episodes, and then I started to put the tethers together. And you go, okay.
And
now I started to care about
the filming improved, and it just felt more. It felt brighter. I feel.
Right.
But I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm just so.
And
thrilled.
of course, I mean that's Downton, but I mean there's so many other shows, current and past, that we get to acknowledge over time.
We're very good at period dramas, wouldn't you say? I mean, Poldark.
We are. Yeah, I was never. But the thing is, I've never been that.
Yeah, but you should watch the new Poldark. Well, I don't know. You might not be that interested in him.
I got into Downton, but you know, like I know the other one that you like is Peaky Blinders.
Yes, I do.
And I read that they just did a festival in Birmingham, a whole Peaky Blinders festival.
Oh, I love
think it was this last weekend.
Well, I love how.
But everybody dressed up.
I love how the music, because it's modern music, underscores a different era entirely, and it works so incredibly well. But I love that show.
I've started it. I'm not like hooked, but I'm you know.
Yeah.
It takes me a while.
It's a great show.
We used to call them when we were kids Poldark. I don't know why, but we called it Poldark. And you know, you make words up. But what kind of words do you use that people don't understand?
Well, it's always fun to use the Cockney rhyming slang words, isn't it?
It is. Give us a few.
Rub-a-dub-dub. You remember that one, don't you?
No, I don't know that one.
She's from Sheffield.
But you should still know. Okay.
I don't know rub-a-dub-dub.
Well, you've got to rhyme the last part.
Okay. So it's rub-a-dub-dub.
So rhyme dub with something.
Sounds like this could get dirty.
Even you can't figure it out. What is it?
I'm pretending like I know, but I don't.
The answer's pub. So if you go down the rub-a-dub-dub.
I know that one.
I
down the frog and toad, which is the
down the road.
Very
yes.
good. And you find it's whistle and flute.
Suit.
Very good. Yeah. See, I have a lot of fun with that.
We don't really use it though.
Well, what do you say? We being whom?
Me.
Okay. Well, that would make sense because you. Yeah. I mean, I grew up around.
I'm from Surrey, darling.
From Surrey, darling. Tra-la-la, Hossenpfeffer.
Well, then maybe I can teach you a little bit about it. So,
see, there's another.
You just make words up. Like, I was going to say to you the other day, like, where have you been on your hollybobs?
Right.
Do you use hollybobs?
Yeah, hollybobs.
Where have you been on your holiday?
No.
But you like it there, don't you, hollybobs? It's got a good ring to it.
What would you call a can of soda back home?
Pop.
I knew you'd say pop.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say pop.
What did you say?
My
we
family
just call it
lives-
by its name. We just say Coke or
Coke.
Sprite or something.
Yeah, we say pop.
Yeah, no, my some of my family lives in South Wales and down there in Pontypridd, if you will, hometown of Tom Jones.
Oh, fantastic.
And I remember visiting one time and the doorbell rang and I went to the door. So I'll get it, I opened the door and this guy just stood there and went, "Pop!"
Oh, the pop man.
Yeah, but that was the only introduction he gave me.
Was
and
it.
I'm
Just pop.
Bang. Pop? But I didn't.
Was it the Alpine man?
I said, "Give me a
Do you
second."
remember Alpine Pop?
No.
No?
But I had to go and ask. I said, "There's a guy at the doors just saying pop. Is he okay?" And they said, "Oh no, it's pop."
I loved it when the pop man came and Fletcher's, which I don't know if that was just unique to our area, but Fletcher's was the bakery. The bakery van.
Do they still do milk floats? Do you still get your milk delivered?
Oh, I read
it's
something.
It's been 20 years.
I read something about people wanting to require. They must do because my twin sister the other day said, "Oh, I can hear the milkman."
I used to love that sound.
Yeah, well, apparently
the low hum of the motor.
It's not quite bad.
Motor.
But apparently,
and the bottles kind of
rattling around.
Apparently, people want glass bottles again. I just read that the other day.
Oh.
And I kind of like that idea, but I loved it. Yeah. So my sister said, literally, because I said, "Why are you up so early?" And she said, "Oh, I just couldn't sleep." Then she said, "Oh, I can hear the milkman." So it was early. So yeah.
So do you get to go back very often?
Yeah, at least once a year. I try to get back.
Yeah.
What's the first thing you want or to either do or eat or when you first go back? What's the thing you go like beeline for?
Sausage rolls are high on the list.
See, mine's Melton Mowbray pork pies. So it's similar in the same
in the
vein.
savoury
now-
department.
With whole grain mustard.
Oh, you see, I've been vegetarian now for quite some time, so I do make my own sausage rolls, but not with real meat. But I did read that
Beyond meat.
Greg's. Do you have Greg's? Greg's apparently have a vegetarian sauce roll.
Oh, there you go.
That's
the
what I'm going
reason
to
to
try
fly
when I
It's
get
not
back
real.
home.
It's no.
But I do try, as you know, I try to bake as much as I can here and be authentic. I don't like people to mess with the recipes.
We're going to have a guest in a couple of weeks, probably, who's an amazing chef.
I cannot wait.
Runs one of the finest restaurants here in Las Vegas.
Seriously.
And he's going to tell us all those things we need to know about how to make the perfect Yorkshire pudding here. Because, there's something weird. You can't get them right over here.
No. Well, mine are good.
And well, traditional teas and all sorts of fun stuff. So he's going to be coming in.
Yeah, because we're going to do a high tea as well, aren't we?
Patrick from Golspie in Scotland.
We cannot wait till Patrick comes on the show. It's
that's
going to be
a great
great. But there's going to be so many interesting people we can bring on the show, like Dan. I'm so glad you came.
I'm so happy you invited me.
I'm so glad you brought the taxi.
Honoured
I'm so
to
glad
be
we
here.
met.
I know.
Yes.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. You guys are doing a fantastic thing with this show. I want to get involved. I want to help you guys out.
Well, you really are. You just brought us the most coolest thing to the studio here.
Seriously.
So we're excited.
Talking about cool and unusual things, what's that you've got over there?
Cool and unusual things. Well, this actually is going to be the tee up to our interview, our next interview. So we, and I know there's been a lot of Def Leppard fans on the Facebook page that have been paying attention to our post when we mentioned that Joe was going to be on the show. Well, we were going to be doing an interview with him. So now, the backstory to this, the way we actually got to achieve this, is one of another company that we have here at the studios. It's called Lifecast Studios. And what we do hand casting, body casting, unique pieces of art from a unique source, which is basically us, because we're all unique.
Yeah.
And at times we partner with celebrities to be able to create one-of-a-kind unique pieces to be able to auction for charity.
Yeah.
So, we've connected with and done castings of Roger Daltrey of The Who. And here in town, Penn and Teller, the Magicians. We've got one we're working on with them. We've got a couple of other lined up that I would love to say right now, but I can't say right now. But
it's always nice to have a little secret.
Yeah, sports stars, boxers of
I'll
note.
spill it later.
I'll spill that tea later or here. But one of the others that we had, and I can show you an example because it's easier to show the end result. Otherwise, it won't kind of make sense as to what you see Joe doing. Is I'm going to pull this in. Actually, you know what? Yeah. No, maybe I can do this. I think this might still be. It's still active if we can do this. So now this is a hand, clearly, and you have to excuse. I look it's a little bit wobbly. So what we got here is actually Mary Wilson of the Supremes.
Yes.
You can see that all getting in the light. But anyway, this is her doing the classic "Stop in the Name of Love."
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Pose, and we will not be able to get that close on the detail, but basically that's a piece that we did with her at her house, and I'm going to put the phone back down now because that was almost good.
I love her face when she's getting the cast done.
I know. She loved it, and she was a great sport. She's a great friend of the studio, and may actually be one of our guests in future shows. We might have a Motown legend here, but we're working on that one. And in fact, she's busy right now because she's over here in the States. She's starting on Dancing with the Stars tonight.
And
we wish her a lot of luck.
And she's not, of course, she's an icon here, but Brits love the Supremes. They love Mary.
They
when
really
she
do.
goes on tour, she
goes to the UK a lot,
Yeah.
and does a lot of touring there. So, and she was just over there actually.
She was, and she was also on a show that when and if we bring her in studio.
When and if it happens.
We'll talk about this show that she was on in England that I saw recently. It's very interesting.
But getting back to that, so this was what we were doing with Joe.
That's right. Yeah,
that's right. We're here for a reason.
Back to the hand.
And so. We actually went and caught up with Joe and got to do his hand casting and asked him a few questions at the same time. So take a look.
I'm going to put my hand in here. Don't move.
So what we were thinking was, it's kind of, if you can imagine, it would be like this is about the amount of arm that we'll get. And then this will be into the base, the wooden base. Whenever you're ready, it's going to feel like putting your hand in a bucket of yogurt.
So,
all right, so you're going to go all the way to the bottom. So now the thing is to keep it basically very still. And
I don't think he's got much option.
I don't think so.
Unless you get cramp.
Yeah. So that's it. That's about as exciting as it gets.
I'm excited.
we are here with a rock legend and rock and roll Hall of Famer, if you will.
Yeah, that's actually physically true.
That is true. How's it feel? Have you got used to that yet? That's kind of a big deal, huh?
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal in our orbit for a long, long time, purely because we never expected to be voted in. Well, we probably wouldn't have been had it been left to the invisible committee, as we like to call them.
The invisible committee.
Yeah, the ones behind the door that want all the famous cool people in. But when the fan vote came along about 7 years ago, the ones that really mean anything, like people that have sold records and are successful in their careers, started getting in. So we got it because of our fans. Thank you, fans, wherever you are.
The fact that Rick got that standing ovation as he did, that was an amazing moment during the
Yeah,
speech.
well, that was the culmination of 40 years worth of hard work on behalf of the band and for him personally since 1984.
Yeah.
It was one room coming together to acknowledge something that they've all individually acknowledged apart from each other over the years. To come together and do it all in that 1 minute. I think you could feel the energy in the room was outstanding.
I mean, I've only seen it on...
Even we were like, yeah, okay.
Oh, I
that's
mean,
cool.
just watching it on TV, you got the sense of the energy.
Yeah,
Rick was...
He deserved that,
back,
Yeah, he was. He deserved it, but he's had people nibbling him. Everybody will come and go, we're really proud of you, and it's amazing what you did, and he's always very gracious and thank you. But to get that, to kind of have everybody, it seemed, all say it at once.
Right.
Acknowledge me, acknowledging it.
Yeah.
It really was like, a special moment.
Yes, that's great. Now, speaking of the fans, you also recently completed a tour with Journey where you sold over 1 million tickets.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It's a different world to the one that we started out in,
56 shows.
Something like that, and
unbelievable.
60 actually, and
60.
Yeah, we sold 1 million tickets, which shows you the value of both bands' popularity, really.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely.
And it was.
I think
It's a big deal because it's 2018, and there's nobody on this planet that was started a band in the mid to late 70s that would ever admit to say, the idea that if somebody had said to you back then, one day you're going to be playing the stadium in the year 2019 because you'll still be relevant.
Right.
They've all gone, no.
Yeah, really.
Because when we started out, bands in the last 10 years, never mind 42.
And you've got bands like the Stones and the Who and
well, they're the ones that set the precedent,
you
see, because back then they'd only been around for like 15.
Right.
And even that was like ridiculous.
Yeah.
But now it's become norm. And there aren't any new bands coming through in the same way that we did because the business has changed.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Do you think there are going to be bands that will have this type of longevity?
It's always going to move. It's always going to change. There's going to be some. And we're from a generation. Forget the music. We're just talking from a timeline period here, where you're looking at us, U2, Depeche Mode, Duran Duran, Iron Maiden.
Right.
And then I'm stuck for the next band.
Right, no,
that's
exactly.
Still around, and then there was a generation after us, bands like Muse, they'll probably still be able to do it, and generations from before us, like AC/DC and Aerosmith, that are still doing it ish. Well, we think AC/DC are, we're not sure. But
right.
Aerosmith certainly are.
So you're here in Las Vegas.
Yes.
You're doing the residency.
Correct.
How are you liking the residency experience as against kind of the hit and run, one.
Well, this is our second go at this. We did it with Viva Hysteria residency in 2013 at the Hard Rock. And this time it's a much bigger venue. There's Atlas Theatre inside Planet Hollywood. I love the idea of sleeping in the same bed for 27 nights sort of thing. I love the idea that you can just leave things lying around the floor in your dressing room or the hotel, knowing full well you're going to pack them away one day, but not now.
Right.
Not yet.
Yep.
And you can just get into a groove. You get into a groove. The whole thing becomes like a lot of people. There are people that don't like the idea of residencies because they think that it's a stagnant way of doing stuff. But no, we get to experiment different songs we change the set out every night, 2 or 3 songs at least.
Yeah, you can evolve it. There's time to
Absolutely,
evolve
we
rather than
purposely
getting
move things
into it.
around.
Exactly.
So you just plan it out. It's a month out of your life where the most important thing are that 2 hours, 2 hours 15 times 12 when you go on stage, and everything else is preparation for that. So consequently, in a nutshell, yes, it's amazing, and I would do it for 2 years. I love it, you know, but I'd like to mix it up because it is still good to tour.
Yeah, no, for sure. So now, you live in Ireland, so would you consider yourself an expat, technically? Or do you still get back to the UK a lot?
I don't get back to the UK unless we're working, really.
Really? So do you miss things about the UK, or is
no? Because
I mean, as a band, you fly the flag probably more than any other band.
Yeah,
literally and
I miss my mates, and I miss being able to go to Bramall Lane and watch Sheffield United now that we're in a Premiership and stuff like that.
This is true.
But when it comes to like the usual things that you like, good restaurants are all over the world, movie theatres are all over the world, you know, that kind of stuff. I live in Dublin, Ireland. It's not dissimilar to the UK in the respect that we drive on the left, the same cars, same road signs.
Right.
You know, the same chains of cinemas and pubs and clubs and stuff like that. And so they're very similar in that respect. The culture is slightly different. The Irish are very, very social folk, and I feel a lot more at home in Ireland. Here's a funny thing. I'm not actually, this will be the first time this has ever been aired in public, but I just sent off for that My Heritage DNA kit thing. And I swabbed my cheek and set it off, and I'm actually more Irish than I am English.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Yep.
That's great.
And I always knew it.
That's interesting.
The first time I set foot in Ireland, I felt like a water diviner. This odd feeling. And I have more Irish, Welsh, and Scots in me than I do English.
Wow.
Which is weird.
So you're gonna have to start.
But I'm not surprised.
Don't start changing out the flags on the drums.
No, not at all. You know, we were born and bred. I am still very English in that respect, certainly very British.
Yeah.
Sheffield, certainly European, you know. 100%.
Sheffield, the cultural centre of the world as well. Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah.
But Sheffield is my birth town and always will be, and it's where I learned everything. I learned how to read and write, walk and talk, and it's where my musical education began. And the bands I saw from Gary Glitter to Lynyrd Skynyrd at the Sheffield City Hall was all part of the, you know, who I became.
But so much has come out of Sheffield as well.
Yeah, Joe Cocker, Def Leppard.
Yeah, Human League.
Heaven 17.
Blur as well.
No, Arctic Monkeys.
Arctic Monkeys. That's what I was thinking.
ABC were kind of ish from Sheffield.
Yeah.
There's been quite a few.
There's been a lot. So now we've got the fun part.
Yeah, this is the fun bit.
You got to get out of it.
I can feel that there's some solidity in this bucket.
There is. Now this was the alginate, not the concrete, right? If so, this might be attached to you for the next show.
But that should be fun. Well, we could just lead hammer it off, but
there you go. All right. So Amanda's going to tell you what's next.
Explain to me what's next.
So what we need to do is to be able to get some air down inside.
So do I need to start letting go of the mic?
You do. What you're going to do is you're going to just very carefully open your fingers very slightly so that you're not actually casting the mic.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Yeah, you can feel it kind of come away
in
from the skin a bit. Yeah.
And it's got down about as far as my wrist.
Okay. All right, Ian, you can hold on to this.
Yep.
Ready? And
here it comes.
Yeah. And now just let it relax and pull slow. That's it, nice and slow.
You got it. Here we go. I'm out.
Yay! Alright. So there it is. Thank you so much. This is exciting. So we'll be able to. Yeah, look, the hand got.
Yeah, look at that. There it is.
Exactly.
Still working.
It is. Thanks very much, Joe.
My pleasure.
We'll see you when we get
the
finished product.
Thank you.
Great stuff. See you then. There it is. That was pretty awesome, huh?
It's really unusual, isn't it, to have something like that done? How do you do it?
Well, I mean, the stuff we use is the dental alginate, so it's the stuff that you use the impressions for, that your dentists use.
Stuff
so it gets the detail. Yeah. So the detail is so fine.
I know, because I'm looking at Mary's, and it's unreal, the detail on there.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And I would think for a musician, getting their hands done is fantastic.
Oh yeah, well, and Joe has had one casting done before, but it was only a one of one, and he has it. So there's still none out in the world. Oh. And then Roger Daltrey, he'd never had that done before, so it's kind of a unique a unique thing to do. So we want to keep adding all these different celebrities and stars.
So you're going to bring Joe's hand back on set?
Yeah. We'll get Amanda to come in, as she's doing a lot of the prep work on the hand now. It's just in that room over there. And as it evolves, and we're doing kind of a making of as well, so we'll be able to show the making process.
What's the process once you've actually, the hand's been, you've done your mold? How long does it take till you can actually get your finished product?
About 3 weeks.
All right. I think it's lovely.
But in this particular instance, we've got to find the right event if it's going to be a one-of-one piece. There's opportunities that we may expand that possibility. It really depends on the individual and what we want to try to do and how much money we really want to try to generate for their charity of choice.
I love the idea of charities. I do tons of charity work myself. And
so it's got to be the right room. It's got to be the right event.
It does. I mean, it has to be.
Roger said, Roger is the patron of the Teenage Cancer Trust.
Oh.
And he said, well, we have various events, but his biggest event is at the Royal Albert Hall every year.
Oh.
And he gets all his mates in and everything else. He said, I want to save it until we do that event, because that's when it's going to have the best chance of really being able to generate.
Oh, I think that's amazing.
The right return. So, yeah.
Oh, that's so unique too. Someone who fundraisers, you're always looking for really unusual things, and I know people will bid on that like crazy.
I think so. Yeah. I think it'll be a fun thing to do.
And I'm sure Joe's never had an interview like that before.
With his hand stuck in a bucket.
Held captive. Can't run away.
It actually is good because, you can't leave.
You can't leave.
That's the good thing about it.
You can't get up and walk away.
He was a great sport. Thanks very much to Claire and Chris Veranian for facilitating that opportunity. And, in fact, actually, I'm wearing one of Claire's. Claire is a designer.
ICJ UK.
Yeah. And Joe wears a lot of her t-shirts.
He wears her gear. So if you look at the photos, you'll more than likely see her shirts. And,
exactly. So I'm modeling today. And you can find a link to her website on our website at spillthetealive.com. And as well as, of course, all our other social media avenues as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're just spreading the word for our communities, we're doing.
And also, there's a link to, if you want to learn more about Lifecast Studios, there's a link on the homepage of spillthetealive.com as well to that company. So, you can just learn a little bit more about what we're doing with these unique pieces. Yeah. And, it was kind of fun.
Yeah, as I say, it's a different kind of interview. That's a first for him. It's nice to have a first,
It is. And we got that little exclusive, the fact of finding out he's actually more Irish than he is English.
He moves to Ireland and he's more Irish than anything.
Right. So, Sam, first show, I think
we've done okay.
I think we got away with it.
I think we got
But
away
in the first show, we've had a taxi cab, we've had a rock star, we've had an exclusive.
We've got Maltesers.
We have got Maltesers.
And my tea, we've got to have Maltesers.
I will have Maltesers.
But yeah, each show we're going to just have really interesting people that come on the show. And because we're based in Vegas, you just never know who's going to show up in town. Because I always say this, everybody eventually shows up in Vegas, and they do.
They do. You're going to have to keep talking now.
That's fine. And I think we need a little Matt Gost. Matt, you need to come on the show. And if your brother's in town, we'd love both of you. Absolutely. We could talk about their documentary and, how he ended up in Vegas of all places.
I know.
But it's been a fun show.
It has.
I really enjoy Dan anyway.
Yes.
Anytime we spend time with Dan, he's very positive, and I just love that, and just a great personality, and what a brilliant business that he's got.
Exactly.
And we'll see a lot more of Dan, won't we?
I know. I think that's perfect.
I think we'll see a lot more
Sam,
of Dan.
Thank you. This has been fun.
It's been so much fun.
Until next time.
Don't say ta-ta. Don't say ta-ta for now.
Ta-ta for now.
Everything enjoyed the show. We'll see you next week.